And welcome to the MIECHV 2018 State CQI webinar kickoff on Safe Sleep. My name is Drew, and I'm the Continuous Quality Improvement Coordinator here at the Oregon Health Authority. And a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. There we go. All right. Please make sure to call in from a telephone to listen to the audio for the presentation. All callers are currently on mute. If you have a question or a comment, please feel free at any time to type those into the chat box. Slides and handouts for today are available on this webinar. You can see them on the right side of the screen, and I will also be emailing them out afterwards along with a link to the webinar recording. If you're watching this webinar as a group or with other colleagues, if you wouldn't mind please typing in their names to the chat box so I know who all is with us today. And then finally, I encourage questions or comments throughout the presentation. I will be stopping occasionally to see what questions you may have at that time. So please feel free to type those into the chat box as they come to you, and then I will address them as we go. All right, and with that, let's get started. So this presentation will introduce the Federal Year 18 State CQI project on Safe Sleep. We will begin with a background on how Safe Sleep was selected as the topic for FY18 statewide CQI project. We will also review some definitions and terminology used when discussing Safe Sleep. Next, we will look at national, state, and MIECHV level data on Safe Sleep. And we will then have an overview of the FY 2018 State CQI project plan and its objectives, structure, and expectations. And I will be sure to highlight what will be similar to last year and what will be new or different. We will wrap up our webinar with an overview of next steps and questions and answers. So I wanted to begin with providing a background on how we came to select Safe Sleep for our focus for this year. We would ideally like to have looked at all of our benchmark data from FY17 and engaged in a statewide discussion with local implementing agencies, including yourselves as home visitors and home visiting supervisors, on where the data showed the greatest opportunities for improvement. However, over the past year, the combination of these revised benchmark performance measures and simultaneously our switching to the new THEO data system here at the Oregon Health Authority has meant that we were unable to analyze this large set of data until really just this month. So at the same time, back this summer, at the state MIECHV program level, we have been really interested in looking more closely at Safe Sleep, which is one of the 3 new MIECHV performance measures that were introduced in FY17. The MIECHV Safe Sleep measure looks at 3 components of Safe Sleep: putting baby to sleep on their back, without bed sharing, or soft bedding. And the topic of Safe Sleep aligns with Title V National Performance Measure and is a quality indicator in the Healthy Start performance measures. In addition, the American Academy of Pediatrics recently released new Safe Sleep recommendations guidelines in 2016, which have been receiving a lot of attention. Safe Sleep is linked to a number of ongoing activities and priorities in the maternal and child health section of the Oregon Health Authority, under which the MIECHV grant is housed, including responding to numerous inquiries from local health departments and various community-based health organizations about the use of cardboard baby boxes as a strategy for reducing bed sharing. So at the time we were having to decide on a new CQI topic, we were simultaneously very active in developing and disseminating guidelines around these baby boxes, which has been gaining lots of attention this year from the media, as you may have noticed. Looking at data on Safe Sleep, the Center for Disease Control reports that sleep-related sudden unexpected infant death, or SUID, is the leading cause of post-neonatal death among infants ages 1 to 12 months in the United States. In 2015, which is the most recent year that we have a complete vital statistics annual report for, SIDS accounted for 9.9% of all infant deaths in Oregon and 27.7% of all post-neonatal deaths. According to the preliminary 2016 vital statistics annual report, 33 infants died due to sudden unexplained infant deaths in Oregon in 2016. We hypothesized that this Safe Sleep performance measure might be particularly challenging given cultural beliefs and practices around bed sharing among both home visitors themselves as well as their clients. and felt that this topic would fit well within our current workforce development focus on cultural and linguistic responsiveness. Culturally and linguistically responsive discussions around safe sleep is especially important given that SUID rates for American Indian, Alaskan Native, and non-Hispanic Black infants are twice those of non-Hispanic white infants. Another reason for the selection of safe sleep was that the Oregon MIECHV program is also focusing on safe sleep as part of a national MIECHV CQI practicum we are engaged in with the Jackson County NFP program. The alignment of the national CQI practicum and statewide CQI project allows us to apply lessons learned and technical assistance from the national practicum to the statewide project. So for these reasons, we decided that safe sleep seemed like a topic that fit our need to meet MIECHV performance requirements as well as an observed need within Oregon. At this point, we wanted to see if safe sleep was a topic that local implementing agencies would be interested in, and so we created a brief survey. Back in September, we sent out this 3-item survey monkey to get feedback from home visiting supervisors on their interest in having safe sleep be the next CQI topic. We had 21 people respond, representing about 60% of those we emailed. 15 out of the 21, or 71%, were interested, quite interested, or very interested in the safe sleep topic. 19% were somewhat interested, and 10% were not interested. Overall, 90% were at least somewhat interested in safe sleep as a statewide CQI topic. I did want to share some of the themes that emerged from the open-ended comments box in the survey. First, respondents noted the common misalignment of American Academy of Pediatrics recommendations, safe sleep recommendations, with parenting attitudes, beliefs, and realities, both for caregivers and home visitors. Home visitors can find it challenging to navigate whether and how to stick to the AAP recommendations versus engaging in risk reduction strategies. Second, bed sharing was repeatedly noted as a primary challenge and risk factor related to safe sleep that home visitors observed among their clients. Third, respondents hoped that change strategies would be based on research and evidence and would be nuanced in what is recommended. So for instance, recognizing that infant deaths due to bed sharing are lower among infants whose mothers are non-smokers, do not abuse alcohol or drugs, and engage in exclusive breastfeeding. And a final theme was around the difficulty in monitoring change and collecting data over time, including how to collect safe sleep data frequently, how to answer these 3 questions the same way every time, and how to ensure that the data isn't biased by self-report, given that moms are self-reporting on the safe sleep practices. Overall, based on the survey feedback, we decided to go ahead with safe sleep as our focus for the FY 2018 state CQI project. So before going any further, I'd like to review some definitions and terminology so that we all have the same understanding of what we are talking about when we talk about bed sharing, for instance, or SUID. The term bed sharing and co-sleeping are often used interchangeably, but they are not the same. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, co-sleeping is when parents and infants sleep in close proximity on the same surface or different surfaces, so as to be able to see, hear, and or touch each other. Co-sleeping arrangements can include bed sharing or sleeping in the same room in close proximity, such as with a baby in a crib alongside the bed. Bed sharing refers to a specific type of co-sleeping when the infant is sleeping on the same surface with another person. That shared surface can include a bed, sofa, or chair, for example. Because the term co-sleeping can be confusing and does not precisely describe sleep arrangements, the AAP recommends the use of the terms bed sharing and room sharing when the infant sleeps in the parent's room but on a separate sleep surface, such as a crib, close to the parent's bed. Sometimes the types of infant death can also be confusing when we're talking about statistics. The following definitions are from the Center for Disease Control website. SUID deaths are sudden, unexplained infant deaths that occur in infants less than 1 year of age and whose cause of death is not immediately obvious prior to an investigation. Most SUIDs are reported as one of 3 types: sudden infant death syndrome, unknown cause, or accidental suffocation and strangulation in bed. Sudden infant death syndrome, or SIDS deaths, are a subcategory of a SUID. A death is only supposed to be categorized as SIDS if a cause of death cannot be explained after a complete, thorough investigation of the death scene, complete autopsy is performed, and a review occurs of the clinical history of the infant and parents. Unknown cause is the sudden death of an infant less than 1 year old that remains undetermined because one or more parts of the investigation was not completed. Infant deaths in a sleep environment may be due to suffocation or strangulation and can be categorized as accidental suffocation and strangulation in bed. And these deaths are preventable in most cases. So I'd like to pause there and see if there are any questions either about terminology or about how we came to select safe sleep. And again, if you have any questions, please type those into the chat box. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions or comments at this time. Again, if you're in the middle of typing something in, please do continue and I'll address them at the next stopping point. So now that we have a common set of definitions and terminology, let's turn to look at safe sleep data, measurement, and the model for improvement as they relate to the statewide CQI project. So we're going to begin by reviewing the actual MIECHV safe sleep performance measure. Performance measure 7 is the percent of infants enrolled in home visiting that are always placed to sleep on their backs without bed sharing or soft bedding. This performance indicator is specifically for index children aged less than 1 year, and all 3 conditions must be met, always, for the index child to count towards this measure. That is, always placed to sleep on the back, always without bed sharing, and always without soft bedding. Although the federal MIECHV performance measure requires that all 3 conditions be met at all times for this measure, our state MIECHV program is very interested in understanding data around the particular components of safe sleep in our state in order to focus more specifically on promoting safer sleep practices. This is why the data collection for safe sleep asks about each of these 3 components separately. It will enable each local implementing agency to identify opportunities for improving specific safe sleep components. We recognize that there are strong personal and cultural beliefs that are tied to safe sleep practices, and our overall goal for Oregon is to promote culturally responsive home visiting services that support safer sleep practices among MIECHV families. When we go to calculate the quarterly and annual MIECHV-defined measure for safe sleep, we then look for the 3 responses circled in red on the data collection forms as shown in this slide. Infants always placed to sleep on their back, never bed sharing, and never sleeping with soft bedding. Clients who respond with these answers are then counted as meeting the MIECHV definition for safe sleep. This table shows safe sleep by child age for FY 2017 across all program sites statewide. It calculates the percentage of infants under the age of 1 enrolled in home visiting that are always placed to sleep on their backs without bed sharing or soft bedding. As you can see with the red indicating arrow, overall, just 18.3% of infants are meeting the criteria for MIECHV benchmark number 7 on safe sleep. The green circle shows that infants under the ages of 3 months have the highest percentage of meeting all 3 safe sleep criteria, which is a positive thing to see given that infants ages 1 to 4 months are generally at the highest risk for SUID. On this slide, we see a table that shows the breakdown of the data by infant age and safe sleep condition. On the bottom row of this chart in purple, we can see that across all MIECHV programs statewide, among infants under the age of 1, 84% of infants are always placed to sleep on their back, 27% of infants never bed share, and 57% of infants never sleep with soft bedding. So if 27% never bed share, that means that 73% of infants are sometimes or always bed sharing. Similarly, if 57% of infants never sleep with soft bedding, that means that 43% of infants sometimes or always sleep with soft bedding. So this tells us that bed sharing is, not surprisingly, the most challenging safe sleep component, particularly for infants ages 3 to 6 months. When we compare this to the cumulative percentage from the previous slide that is shown here in the blue spiky cloud, 18.3%, we can see the increase in the percentage of infants who never bed share would probably have the greatest potential impact on the overall cumulative percentage. When we look more closely at bed sharing, we can see that across all program sites, approximately 29% of MIECHV infants always share the bed with a caregiver. What we don't know is what percentage of these infants who always bed share may be exposed to additional factors that place them at even higher risk, such as a smoking environment, caregiver use of drugs or alcohol, type of bedding, such as water beds and extra pillows, and non-breastfeeding. On the positive side, infants ages 0 to 3 months are the least likely to be bed sharing. About a third of them never bed share. When we look closely at soft bedding, we can see that across all program sites, approximately 13% of MIECHV infants always sleep with soft bedding. Infants ages 3 to 6 months are the least likely to sleep with soft bedding, with about 60% who never sleep with soft bedding. So based on the Safe Sleep data from 2017, for our statewide CQI project this year, we have developed answers for the first 2 questions of the model for improvement that we use to guide our CQI work. As you may recall, this model has 2 parts, 3 fundamental questions, which can be addressed in any order, and the plan, do, study, act cycle to test changes in real-world settings. The first question is, what are we trying to accomplish? For this year's CQI project, our statewide aim is to increase the percent of infants under the age of 1 who are always placed to sleep on their backs without bed sharing or soft bedding from 18.3% to 25% by September 30th, 2018. And you can see that that 18.3% is a cumulative percentage from FY17 that we are using as our baseline. The second question for the model for improvement is, how will we know a change is an improvement? At the state level, we will continue to look at data on safe sleep separately for newborn infants, infants ages 3 months, and infants ages 6 months. This will be helpful for understanding how safe sleep practices may change depending on the age of the infant, and help us to target specific safe sleep strategies, information, and resources at specific ages. In addition, we will also look at the overall percentage of infants under the age of 1 who are always placed to sleep on their backs without bed sharing or soft bedding, which is the MIECHV performance measure. So the third model for improvement question is, what changes can we make that will result in improvement? Just like last year, each local implementing agency will determine what change they would like to test to improve safe sleep outcomes. There are a lot of ways to identify changes to test, and these include, most importantly, your frontline knowledge. So as home visitors and home visiting supervisors, what are you seeing occur day to day with the clients you serve, and what ideas have already jumped out at you previously about what you think could help to improve safe sleep practices? Also, looking at your safe sleep data, what does your FY17 safe sleep data show about the clients you serve? We can also use home visiting safe sleep assessments around home visitors' knowledge, comfort, skills around discussing safe sleep practices with their clients. There's also quality improvement tools such as process mapping. Reviewing literature and research is another great opportunity to identify possible changes to test, as are specific home visiting models and guidelines. So for instance, for Early Head Start, are there specific resources or tools or guidelines on how to discuss safe sleep practices? Learning from other local implementing agencies and peers on ideas that they've tested is another great opportunity, as are looking towards the national level safe sleep campaigns, such as the Infant Mortality Community of Innovation Network toolkits. So as part of your preparations for the January CQI kickoff meeting, and to help with identifying changes to test, I will be sending each local implementing agency copies of their safe sleep data from the past year, as well as a link to a short Survey Monkey for home visitors to take that will assess their knowledge, practices, and beliefs related to client safe sleep practices. And I'll talk about this more in a couple minutes. But before I do, I wanted to just talk a little bit more and introduce the MIECHV CQI practicum that we are engaging in as well. So as I noted earlier, the Jackson County MIECHV Nurse Family Partnership Program, led by Ann Apples, has bravely volunteered to be our local implementing agency partner in the second wave of the National MIECHV CQI practicum. This virtual practicum includes 12 states and began last month in October, well, I guess 2 months ago now, and will run through April 2018. We chose to also focus on safe sleep for this practicum so that we would be able to use the technical assistance and peer sharing from other MIECHV states to help inform our statewide Safe Sleep CQI project. So Jackson County's aim is to increase the percent of infants ages 0 to 6 months, 30 days, enrolled in Jackson's NFP program who are always placed to sleep on their backs without bed sharing or soft bedding from 32% to 40% by March 31st, 2018. And since starting in October, we have worked together to complete a review of their safe sleep data. Home visitors have completed a safe sleep assessment. We've developed aim statements and measures, created a process map of how they engage in safe sleep discussions with their clients, developed a run chart charting their safe sleep data, and they have just completed their first PDSA cycle to test their new data collection tool for safe sleep. So as we continue over the course of this year, we will certainly be looking to their team to provide sort of input and suggestions and strategies for things that they engaged in that other implementing agencies may want to try. I'll go ahead and continue on to looking at the 2018 State CQI project on safe sleep. And we will now talk a bit about the overall objectives, structure, and expectations. So last year was our first statewide CQI project in which we focused on developmental screening and referrals. And there were a lot of successes we observed, including a strengthened culture of quality among the CQI team. So looking at the home visitors, home visiting supervisors, and data support staff, as well as others like other non-MIECHV home visitors coming together to work on these CQI projects. We also saw an increased understanding of CQI processes and tools. So for instance, being more comfortable using the model for improvement and understanding key driver diagrams and using those primary and secondary drivers to drive the test of change. I think these really represent an improvement, an increase in understanding of more complex CQI processes. This year, we will continue to focus on a deeper understanding of more advanced CQI processes and tools. By the end of the CQI practicum, participants will be able to establish aims that are measurable and time-bound, so really ensuring that each implementing agency has a specific number and percentage that they're hoping to increase from or to, as well as a start and end date. Participants will also be able to identify data that can be collected at least monthly and ideally bi-monthly. They will create and use measures to track progress towards achievement of aims. They will work on conducting multiple short PDSA cycles, including small rapid cycles. So for instance, what can you test in just one day with one home visitor trying it out with one client? They will also be able to use time series charts to track results. And this is where you plot your data and then you include notes about what change you implemented along that time frame. So you can sort of see, was there certain changes in data that coincided with new changes in PDSA improvements. And then you'll also be able to share project successes and challenges with peers. In terms of the overall structure, we will again have a single statewide CQI topic and aim, safe sleep, but you all as local implementing agencies will identify your own changes to test and conduct your own PDSA cycles. To prepare for the kickoff meeting in January, local implementing agencies will have a chance to review their safe sleep data from FY 2017, as well as ask home visitors to take a short survey assessment of home visitor safe sleep knowledge and practices with their clients. Staff who did not take part in last year's kickoff meetings are also highly recommended to take a brief CQI refresher course. We will be having a single statewide kickoff meeting at the end of January, on January 24th and 25th, as part of our two-day all implementing agency meeting. And day 2 of this meeting will be dedicated to continuous quality improvement. It will include a workshop on safe sleep, as well as then going into the CQI and developing the plan section of your PDSAs, including reviewing the safe sleep data and home visitor safe sleep assessments, creating process maps, and developing aim statements and measures. My goal is that by the end of this meeting, everyone will be able to leave with a plan in place. And so this statewide meeting will replace the regional kickoff meetings that I conducted with you all last fall. We will again use a PDSA tracking form for submitting monthly updates, though this form will be slightly revised. And we will also continue having learning collaboratives. Based on survey feedback from learning collaborative participants last year, we will be changing these a little bit. All local implementing agencies will take part in these this year, and the themes will correspond to the safe sleep primary drivers that we will review in the kickoff meeting. So for instance, local implementing agencies that decide to focus their changes on home visitor safe sleep trainings or providing additional supervision may be in one collaborative, while local implementing agencies that choose to focus their changes around addressing cultural values and traditions towards safe sleep among caregivers may be in a different learning collaborative. We expect these learning collaboratives to begin in late February or early March, and these will occur monthly via go-to meeting. Local implementing agencies will be expected to attend at least half of these meetings. And also based on feedback from last year, I will be sure to send a doodle poll to participants in each learning collaborative to identify what days of the week and times work best for everyone. Last year, the MIECHV State Office developed and emailed 2 CQI newsletters, and this year we are committed to disseminating at least 3, beginning in March. These newsletters will spotlight different local implementing agencies and your Plan, Do, Study acts, provide information on the latest resources around safe sleep, information and tools, and highlight key safe sleep data in terms of how we're progressing as a state. We are also working hard to get our new Theo database to the place where we can again provide quarterly benchmark data reports on safe sleep in addition to, or as well as, the other MIECHV performance measures. And finally, as I noted earlier, we will be making a more deliberate effort to utilize the online sharing platform called Basecamp as a location for uploading and storing your CQI documents. So in terms of participant expectations, all local implementing agencies are expected to participate in the statewide CQI project, including attending the kickoff meeting January 24th and 25th, taking part in the learning collaboratives, and submitting monthly PDSA updates. We expect that the CQI planning and activities will be a collaborative team effort that includes home visitors, supervisors, and other staff involved in data collection. And as you all know, this can also include non-MIECHV staff. We really want to practice an all teach and all learn philosophy. And this means local implementing agencies will be expected and encouraged to share the progress and learning from their quality improvement projects through these monthly PDSA forms and participation in the learning collaboratives and quarterly webinars. And finally, we encourage you to share seamlessly and steal shamelessly from each other. We are all in this together, and we want to promote transparent sharing of data, ideas, learning, tools that you create, etc. So we will be supporting this effort through the use of the Basecamp web platform, learning collaboratives, and other peer sharing opportunities. I'm really excited that we have been able to upgrade to the newest version of the Basecamp online platform. It has some new key features that will make it more user-friendly, including easier ways to develop folders for different types of documents. So this year, we'll be using this online resource for communications, uploading documents such as your monthly PDSA forms, and downloading resources and tools. I'll send out email invites to the home visiting supervisors early next week probably. And if you have additional people such as data support staff or home visitors whom you would like to also be added, please send me an email and I'll add them as well. Every local implementing agency will be asked to use this online platform for uploading their documents, so everyone should plan on signing up if you don't already have an account. And we will review this online resource together during our all local implementing agency meetings to make sure that everyone is able to log on and use the basic features. So in summary, looking at a timeline between now and next year, between now and the meeting at the end of January, you will be receiving in sometime between today and next week your safe sleep data and a brief feedback form. You'll also receive a link to a survey assessment for home visitors to complete. And I think I noted that I recommend for any home visitors or home visiting supervisors who have not been part of CQI trainings or projects with me previously to go ahead and take a CQI refresher course. In January, end of January, is the local implementing agency kickoff meeting. This will be taking place in Eugene. And as I noted, the focus for day 2 will be on continuous quality improvement. And then in February, implementing agencies will be finalizing their plan sections of the PDSA forms and starting to implement their projects. So between February and August, then we'll be working on the monthly PDSA cycles and updates, conducting monthly learning collaborative calls and quarterly webinars. At the state level, we'll be producing some newsletters. And then come September 2018, we will be looking and reviewing at our data over the past year and celebrating success. So looking a little bit more in depth at what's next up, the first is the Home Visitor Safe Sleep Survey Assessment. So we developed the survey as part of the CQI practicum with Jackson County, and the home visitors and their team found the information really useful for a discussion guide to identify what their current home visiting practices were around safe sleep and where they were feeling challenged, where they found successes, and to help identify opportunities for improvement. So the purpose of this brief assessment is to learn more about your local implementing agency's home visitor knowledge, practices, and beliefs related to safe sleep, as well as the safe sleep practices of their clients. These responses will then be used by your team during the kickoff meeting as a discussion guide to help identify possible areas for improvement. This survey takes just about 10 minutes, and I have set up all the survey links at the individual implementing agency level. So each local implementing agency will receive a specific link and then a summary from their own home visitors. The survey does not ask for home visitors' names, but the answers may make it apparent who the individual is. Again, the purpose is not for an anonymous survey, but to jumpstart a discussion on what knowledge, skills, support, or resources home visitors may need to support the safe sleep practices among their clients. I will be sending out the individual links today after this webinar, and I'm asking that home visitors complete this by December 22nd or before you go on holiday leave. Again, it just takes about 10 minutes to complete. Then I will upload these summary responses as PDFs, and I'll upload them to Basecamp as soon as home visitors have completed them so that your teams can download them and look at them and be prepared to discuss it during the January meeting. On this slide is a snapshot of the overall statewide safe sleep report, and this is also in your handouts today. Next week, I'll be sending out emails to all the implementing agencies that will include your specific safe sleep data for FY17, as well as a copy of the statewide safe sleep data and a brief one-page reflective inquiry guidance document. It will ask you to review your data and reflect on what the data is telling you. The purpose is to help your team begin to think about potential areas of safe sleep you may want to focus on for your CQI project. For instance, how do your data compare to the statewide data? What do you notice when comparing your safe sleep data by infant age, birth, 3 and 6 months? What about when you look at the data by safe sleep components? Are there certain safe sleep practices that are being done more regularly than others among your clients? Again, this discussion guide is really just, I think, will probably be 3 or 4 questions for you to just jot down some of your thoughts. And we are asking that you upload this document to Basecamp by January 12th. And your team will then be able to use this data and your reflections during the CQI kickoff meeting in January as well to help identify areas for improvement. So because we will be focusing this year on more advanced CQI processes and tools, I will not be spending much time during the January kickoff meeting to review the CQI basics. For home visitors and especially home visiting supervisors who did not take part in the CQI kickoff meetings with me last year, or who have not taken a CQI training or course, I highly recommend that you review one or both of the CQI refreshers above prior to the January meeting. The first link is a fantastic participatory CQI 101 online module produced by the National Institute for Children's Health Quality. This module focuses on the model for improvement and the PDSA cycle. When I went through this module recently, it took me about an hour and a half to complete. And you can always, I was able to leave and come back to it if you need to do it in smaller increments. And the second option is a YouTube recording of an introduction to CQI for MIECHV that I recorded last year, and it's available on our OHA MIECHV website. And it also goes over the model for improvement in the PDSA cycle, but in addition also reviews how to use such CQI tools as process maps and fishbone diagrams. So in terms of what to expect in the January CQI kickoff meeting, we will review the model for improvement and PDSA cycles. utilize home visitors' safe sleep assessments and data to identify areas for improvements, select key drivers from the key driver diagram that will be presented, and identify changes to tests. Your teams will develop a process map, a draft aim statement, and potential outcome process measures, determine how to collect and track your data, and draft the beginning of a plan section for your PDSA forms. And I'm very confused because I don't see any questions. Let's see, here we go. All right, Liz, who should attend the January kickoff? Hey, Liz, thank you so much for that question. We will be sending out actually a registration form really soon, early next week, I believe. We just finally finalized the venue, so we now have a chance to go ahead and send that out. We will be asking sort of the same people who attended the kickoff meetings last year. So for the LIA meeting, it would be home visiting supervisors and home visitors are the primary staff that that are expected to attend the January meeting. All right, Stephanie says there's a MIECHV training in Eugene in January. Is the kickoff part of that? Yes, I'm guessing that's probably the same one. If there is a meeting in Eugene that you've heard about, January 24th or 25th, then yes, it would be day 2 of that meeting. So the January meeting, it's an all LIA meeting. And so on day 1 of that, there will be workshops. We will have workshops around intimate partner violence, around reflective supervision. We will be going over MIECHV orientations. We will have a number of speakers attending as well. So it's going to be a very interactive 2-day session, including an opportunity for networking and getting to know each other in the evening. So that's day 1, and then day 2 will really focus on safe sleep and CQI. Well, I'm not seeing any more come through. If you have any additional questions, comments, thoughts, of course, as always, feel free to email me. And again, I will be sending follow-up emails with next steps around your data and home visiting assessments, as well as a link to a recording to this email. And we will be sending out from the larger MIECHV program more information about the January meeting.